Kofi heard the screams when the night had already swallowed the savannah whole. Two thin screams, childlike, desperate. He knew those voices. They were the blind girls from the tribe. And from the howls that came right after, he knew exactly what was happening. Wolves. Kofi was sitting in front of the cabin, like always, watching the fire die slowly. The same fire he'd lit every day for 30 years, facing the tribe, like a silent plea, like an apology that never left his mouth. No one answered. No one ever answered. He was the ghost of the savannah, the man with no name, the coward who let the chief's son die. But now, the screams. The girls. Kofi stood up slowly. His hands trembled. They always trembled. Old age, fear, guilt, all mixed together in a body tired of carrying shame. He grabbed the bow. The wood was worn. The arrows few. He looked toward the tribe. He knew that if he went back there, he might not come back alive. But the screams continued. And this time he couldn't freeze. Not again. 30 years ago. Kofi was the best hunter in the tribe. Fast, precise, respected. Chief Osei trusted him with everything, even with the most important thing, taking his son Kwame on his first hunt as a man, a 12-year-old boy, eyes shining with courage, wide smile, wanted to prove he was worthy of his father. Kofi promised he'd take care of him. You can count on me, Chief. I'll bring him back safe. But promises sometimes break halfway through. They were tracking an antelope when the hyena appeared. Big, starving, aggressive. Kwame stumbled. The hyena charged. Kofi had the spear in his hand. He had time. He had a chance. But the fear squeezed so tight that he froze. Just stood there, watching. Breath caught, body like stone. And when he finally reacted, it was too late. Kwame's scream still echoed in his head. Every day, every night, 30 years later. Kofi returned to the tribe carrying the boy's body. Osei didn't scream, didn't cry, just looked at him. A look that cut deeper than any spear. Get out of my sight. The entire tribe watched Kofi gather his things and leave. No one said goodbye. No one spoke his name ever again. He built the cabin far away, but not far enough to forget. Close enough to remember, every day, that he had failed, that he was a coward, that he didn't deserve forgiveness. But now, running through savannah in the middle of darkness, Kofi wasn't thinking about himself. He was thinking about the girls, Amara and Nia, twins, 9 and 7 years old, blind since birth, hair braided with wooden beads that jingled when they walked, always holding hands, always together. Daughters of Adissa, the healer. Adissa, who had been his friend before everything fell apart. Kofi heard the howls getting closer, more aggressive, the girls' screams getting weaker. He ran, but his legs weren't the same anymore. His breath failed, his chest burned, but he kept going. Because this time, he wasn't in a freeze. He wasn't going to let anyone else die because he was afraid. He arrived at a clearing lit by the moon, and saw the two girls press against an old baobab tree, hugging each other, trembling, 3 wolves circling, thin from the drought, yellow eyes gleaming with hunger, fangs bared. One of them growled, took a step forward. Amara pulled Nia behind her, like she always did, the protector. Nia started singing, softly, trembling, but singing, it was her way of chasing away the fear. Kofi felt his chest tighten. He raised a bow, aimed at the wolf in front. His hand shook so much the arrow almost fell. He took a deep breath, released. The arrow flew wide. The wolves didn't even move. Kofi cursed under his breath, grabbed another arrow, aimed again, missed again. 1 arrow left. The wolves started advancing. Kofi looked at his own hand, old, trembling, useless, looked at the bow, looked at the girls, and made the only decision that made sense. He threw the bow on the ground, lit the stick he carried on his belt, screamed with all the rage of 30 years, with all the guilt, with all the regret. He beat his chest, charged at the wolves, waved the fire. Come at me. Two wolves backed away, but the biggest one didn't. It growled, lowered its body, prepared to leap. Kofi opened his arms, placed himself between the wolf and the girls. No weapon, no plan, just a tired old man who wasn't going to let anyone else die in front of him. The wolf leaped. Kofi felt the claws tear into his shoulder, the fangs sink into his arm, the pain exploding. But he held on, squeezed the animal's neck with his other hand, felt the smell of blood, the heat of the fire burning his own skin, the weight of the wolf trying to rip out his throat. He didn't let go, squeezed harder and harder until the wolf stopped moving. He fell to his knees, blood dripping, vision blurred, breath failing. The other two wolves fled. The girls were still singing. Softly, not knowing it was over, Kofi tried to speak. It's okay. But his voice didn't come out. The last thing he saw before passing out was Amara letting go of Nia's hand, feeling along the ground, touching his face, and whispering, "Thank you." Kofi woke up to the smell of herbs, wet earth, crushed leaves, something bitter mixing with smoke. His shoulder burned. His arm throbbed. Every breath felt like swallowing broken glass. He tried to open his eyes. Couldn't. Too heavy. But he heard, singing, soft, sweet, a child's voice humming something he didn't recognize. Then another voice, younger, whispering, "Is he going to wake up Amara?" "Sure, Mama said to let him rest." "Mama, Adissa." Kofi's eyes shot open. He was in his cabin, on his own mat, bandages wrapped around his shoulder and arm, the fire crackling low in the corner, and sitting beside him, the two girls, Amara and Nia. Amara was grinding something in a small wooden bowl. Her hands moved with precision, even though her eyes stared at nothing. Nia was braiding dried grass into a rope, her fingers quick and sure. They didn't know he was awake yet. Kofi tried to sit up. Pain shot through his entire body. He groaned. Both girls turned their heads toward the sound. "You're awake." Nia's face lit up. Amara set the bowl down carefully. "Don't move too much. The wound will open again." Kofi stared at them. His throat felt dry. His voice cracked when he spoke. How did I get here?" "We brought you," Amara said simply. "Well, we dragged you. It took a long time." "You're heavy," Nia added, giggling softly. Kofi blinked. These two girls, blind, small, had dragged him all the way back to his cabin, through the savannah, in the dark. "Where's your mother?" he asked. "She doesn't know we're here," Amara said quietly. "We snuck out. Again." Nia looked down at her lap. "We wanted to see the stars." "See," Kofi repeated. "Touch them," Nia corrected. "Feel the night. Alone. Without everyone watching us all the time." Amara nodded. "They treat us like we're going to break. But we're not glass." Kofi didn't say anything. He understood. Being trapped by what people thought of you. By what you'd done. By what you couldn't undo. Amara picked up the bowl again and brought it to him. "Drink this. It'll help with the pain." Kofi took it. The liquid was thick and bitter. He grimaced but drank it all. "Good." Amara said, taking the bowl back. "Now lie down. You lost a lot of blood." He obeyed. Strange. Being cared for. He hadn't been touched in 30 years. Not a handshake. Not a pat on the back. Not even a glance that lasted more than a second. And now, these two girls, bandaging him, giving him medicine, sitting with him like it was the most normal thing in the world. His chest felt tight, not from pain, from something else. Something he'd forgotten how to name. "Why did you come?" Nia asked suddenly. Kofi turned his head toward her. "What?" "Why did you come save us? Everyone says you're the ghost, the bad man, the one who—" "Nia," Amara warned, but Nia kept going. "They say you let someone die, that you ran away, that you're cursed." Kofi closed his eyes. "They're right." Silence. Then Amara spoke, soft, but firm. "You didn't run away last night." Kofi opened his eyes. She was looking in his direction, not at him, but toward him. like she could see something no one else could. "You could have stayed in your cabin," she continued. "But you didn't. You came. You fought. You bled. You saved us," Nia whispered. Kofi's throat burned. He wanted to say something, to explain, to tell them he wasn't a hero, that he was just a coward trying to make up for 30 years of failing. But the words wouldn't come. So he just nodded, even though they couldn't see it. Hours passed. The girls stayed. Nia sang. Amara changed his bandages. They talked about small things. The way the wind sounded different at night. How the fire smelled like rain before it came. How they could tell when someone was lying just by listening to their breathing. Kofi listened, and for the first time in decades, he didn't feel alone. But eventually, Amara stood up. "We need to go back." "Now!" Nia protested. "Mama will be awake soon. If she finds out we're gone..." Nia sighed but nodded. They gathered their things. The bowl, the cloth, the dried grass. Kofi watched them move. So confident, so sure, even in darkness. "Wait," he said. They stopped. "I'll take you back." "You can barely stand," Amara said. "I can walk." He sat up, slowly. Pain flared, but he ignored it. He grabbed the walking stick leaning against the wall and stood. His legs shook, but he stayed upright. "See," he muttered. "I'm fine." Amara tilted her head. "You're lying." "How do you..." "You're breathing. It's uneven. You're in pain." Kofi huffed. "I'm old. Everything hurts." Nia giggled. "Come on," he said. "Let's go before your mother sends the whole tribe after you." They walked slowly through savannah. The sun was just starting to rise, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Nia held Amara's hand. Amara held Kofi's arm for balance. He didn't pull away. "Why do you live alone?" Nia asked suddenly. Kofi stiffened. "Nia," Amara said. "What?" "I'm just asking." Kofi kept walking. "It's complicated." "Did you do something bad?" He didn't answer. Nia waited, then asked again, softer this time. "Did you?" Kofi stopped, looked down at her. She was staring up at him, eyes unfocused, but somehow seeing more than anyone else ever did. "Yes," he said quietly. "I did." "Did you say sorry?" "I tried." "Did they forgive you?" Kofi swallowed hard. "No." Nia thought about that, then nodded. "That's sad." "Yeah," Kofi whispered. "It is." They kept walking. When they reached the edge of the village, Kofi stopped. "This is far enough." Amara turned toward him. "You're not coming in?" "I can't." "Why not?" "Because..." He trailed off. "Because I'm not welcome there." "But you saved us," Nia said. "They have to let you in now." Kofi shook his head. "It doesn't work like that." Amara squeezed his hand. "Thank you for everything." He nodded. They let go, started walking toward the village. But then Nia stopped, turned around. "We'll come visit you," she called out. "Nia, we will every day." Kofi felt something break inside his chest. He didn't trust his voice, so he just raised his hand. A wave, even though they couldn't see it. He turned to leave, but then he heard it, shouting, running footsteps. "Amara, Nia," a woman's voice. "Adissa." Kofi froze. He should leave, right now, before she saw him, but his body wouldn't move. And then she was there, running toward the girls. Hair wild, eyes red, face wet with tears. She dropped to her knees, grabbed them both, pulled them into her arms. "Where were you?" I thought. "We're okay, Mama," Amara said. "We went to see the stars," Nia added. Adissa pulled back. "You what?" "But then the wolves came," Nia continued, "and we thought we were going to die. But then he saved us." "He?" And that's when Adissa looked up, saw Kofi, standing there, blood-soaked bandages, hollow eyes, leaning on a walking stick like his legs might give out any second. Their eyes met, and for a moment, everything stopped. 30 years of silence, 30 years of distance, all hanging in the air between them. Odysseus' face went through 100 emotions at once. Shock, confusion, disbelief, and then something else. Something Kofi couldn't name. She stood slowly, walked toward him. He wanted to step back, but couldn't. She stopped right in front of him, studied his face, his wounds, his trembling hands. Then she whispered, just one word, "Obrigada." Thank you. And Kofi felt 30 years of walls crack open. If your heart's already racing, hold on. What comes next is going to break you open in a different way. Odysseus whispered thank you, but she couldn't look him in the eyes. Kofi saw it, the way her gaze dropped, the way her hands tightened on her daughter's shoulders. Gratitude and pain mixed together. She was thankful, but she also remembered. Everyone remembered. Come, Odysseus said quietly, turning back to girls, "We need to get you home." She started walking. The girls followed. Kofi stayed where he was, watching them disappear into the village. He should leave now, turn around, go back to the cabin, pretend this never happened. But his feet wouldn't move, because something had shifted. For the first time in 30 years, someone from the tribe had spoken to him, not with anger, not with disgust, just gratitude. One word, but it felt like a crack in a wall that had been sealed for decades. Kofi turned to leave, but then he heard footsteps behind him. Fast, small. Wait! It was Nia. She ran up to him, breathing hard. Amar was right behind her. "Where you going?" Nia asked. "Home." "But you're hurt. You need proper medicine. Mama can help." "Your mother already helped." "No," Amara said firmly. "We helped. Mama doesn't even know yet." Kofi frowned. "You didn't tell her?" The girls looked at each other, then back at him. "We didn't know how." Amara admitted. "We were scared she'd be angry. That we snuck out. That we almost died. That you saved us," Nia added softly. Kofi's chest tightened. These girls, carrying that weight alone, just like he had carried his. "Go tell her," he said. "She deserves to know." "Will you come with us?" Nia asked. "No." "Why not?" "Because I'm not supposed to be here." "But you are here," Amara said, "and you saved us. That has to mean something." Kofi looked at them. Two small girls, blind, fearless, believing in something he'd stopped believing in a long time ago, that maybe people could change their minds. "Please," Nia whispered, and Kofi didn't know how to say no. They walked into the village together, slowly, Kofi's legs still shaking, his wounds still bleeding through the bandages. The sun was fully up now. People were starting to move, preparing for the day, lighting fires, fetching water. And then they saw him, one by one. Conversations stopped. Hands froze mid-task, eyes locked on. The ghost, the exile, the man who let the chief's son die, walking into the village with the healer's daughters. Someone dropped a clay pot. It shattered on the ground. No one moved to pick it up. Kofi kept his eyes down, focused on walking. One step, then another. Don't look at them. Don't meet their eyes. Just get through this. But he could feel it, the weight of their stares, the unspoken words, the memories they all carried. Odysseus' home was near the center of the village, a round hut with woven walls and a thatched roof. Herbs hung from the doorway. Smoke curled from the fire pit outside. She was standing there when they arrived, arms crossed, face unreadable. "Girls," she said, voice low, "inside, now." They hesitated. "Mama, now." They went, glancing back at Kofi as they disappeared through the doorway. And then it was just him and Odysseus, standing in the middle of the village, with everyone watching. Odysseus looked at him, really looked at the blood, the bandages, the way he leaned on the walking stick, like it was the only thing keeping him upright. "What happened?" she asked. Kofi opened his mouth, but before he could speak, Amara's voice came from inside the hut. "He saved us, Mama." Odysseus' eyes widened. "From wolves," Nia added. 3 of them. He fought them, got hurt, but he didn't leave us. Silence. Odysseus stared at Kofi. He saw the conflict in her eyes. Belief, disbelief, gratitude, anger, confusion, all of it swirling together. "Is that true?" she asked quietly. Kofi nodded. "Why?" "Because—" He paused, swallowed. "Because they're children. And you care about children now?" The words cut deep. Kofi flinched, but he didn't look away. "I never stopped," he said, voice rough. I failed. Once. And I've been paying for it every day since." Odysseus' jaw tightened. "You should have paid for it then. Not run away." "I didn't run. I was told to leave." "And you just went? What else was I supposed to do?" "Fight." Odysseus' voice cracked. "Fight for your place. Fight to prove you weren't a coward. Fight for—" She stopped, took a breath, looked away. "Fight for the people who still believed in you," she finished quietly. Kofi felt something break inside him. "Did anyone," he asked, "believe in me?" Odysseus didn't answer. She just turned and walked into the hut. Kofi stood there, alone, in the center of the village, with 100 pairs of eyes, still watching. He should leave. Right now. But then Odysseus came back out, holding a clay bowl, strips of clean cloth, a bundle of dried leaves. She set them down on a wooden stool near the fire. "Sit," she said. Kofi blinked. "What?" "Sit down. I need to check your wounds." "You don't have to." "I'm a healer. It's what I do. Now sit." He hesitated, then slowly lowered himself onto the stool. Odysseus knelt beside him, started unwrapping the bandages. Her hands were careful, practiced, but there was tension in every movement. "This is bad," she muttered. "The girls did their best, but you need stitches." "I'll be fine. You'll be dead if this gets infected." She crushed the leaves, mixed them with water, made a thick paste, then started cleaning the wounds. Kofi hissed in pain. "Stop moving," she said. "It hurts." "Good. Maybe you'll think twice before fighting wolves with your bare hands." Despite everything, Kofi almost smiled. Almost. They worked in silence. Odysseus stitching. Kofi gritting his teeth. The village watched. Whispers starting to spread. Why is she helping him? He doesn't deserve it. He should have stayed gone. But Odysseus ignored them, focused on her work. When she finished, she wrapped fresh bandages around his shoulder and arm, tied them tight, then sat back. "There, that should hold." "Thank you," Kofi said quietly. Odysseus looked at him, really looked, for the first time in 30 years. "You saved my daughters," she said. "I won't forget that. But you won't forgive the other thing either." She didn't deny it, just stood up, gathered her supplies. "You should rest before you go back," she said. "The walk will open the wounds again." "I can't stay here." "I know." She turned to leave, then stopped. "Kofi." He looked up. "I'm sorry," she said, "for what happened to you, for what you've had to carry. But I can't forget what happened to Kwame either." Kofi nodded slowly. "I understand." Odysseus went inside, and Kofi sat there, wrapped in bandages, surrounded by silence, knowing that some things could never be fixed, no matter how many lives you saved. He stood up, slowly, painfully, started walking toward the edge of the village. But then he heard a voice, deep, commanding, familiar. "Stop." Kofi froze, turned around, and there he was, Chief Osei, standing in the center of the village, tall, strong, gray streaks in his hair now, lines carved deep into his face. But the eyes were the same, cold, hard, unforgiving. Everyone went silent, waiting. Osei walked forward, slow, deliberate, each step echoing in the stillness. He stopped right in front of Kofi, close enough that Kofi could see the pain behind the anger, the grief that never healed. "You came back," Osei said. It wasn't a question. "I heard the girls," Kofi said. "I couldn't." "You couldn't ignore them." Kofi nodded. Osei studied him. taking in the blood, the bandages, the trembling legs. You fought wolves. Yes, with your hands. I had no choice. Osei's jaw tightened. You always have a choice. Kofi looked down. I know. Silence. Long. Heavy. Suffocating. Then Osei spoke again. My son didn't have a choice. Kofi's throat closed. I know. Do you? Every day, Kofi whispered. Every single day for 30 years. Osei stared at him, searching for what Kofi didn't know. Remorse? Truth? Something worth forgiving? Finally, Osei stepped back. Leave, he said, before I change my mind. Kofi nodded, started to turn. But then Osei added one more thing. But know this. Kofi stopped. You saved something precious last night. And for that, I am grateful. Kofi's breath caught. He turned back. But Osei was already walking away. And he realized that saving the girls was easy. The hard part was facing the people who never forgave him. Kofi walked, each step heavier than the last. Not from pain, from something else. The weight of eyes, the weight of judgment, the weight of 30 years pressing down on his shoulders like stones. Behind him, the village watched, silent, waiting for him to disappear again, like he always did. But this time, something was different. This time, he wasn't alone. Wait! Small footsteps running. Kofi turned. Amara and Nia, racing toward him. Adissa appeared in the doorway of her hut. Girls, no. But they didn't stop. Nia reached him first, grabbed his hand. Where are you going? Home, Kofi said. We'll walk with you. Amara said, You don't have to. We want to. Kofi looked at Adissa. She stood there, arms crossed, face torn between protecting her daughters and letting them make their own choice. Finally, she nodded, just once. Permission, or maybe surrender. They walked together, out of the village, past the last hut, into the tall grass of savannah. The morning sun was climbing higher now, heating the earth, making the air shimmer. Nia held Kofi's hand, swinging it back and forth as they walked, like it was the most natural thing in the world, like he wasn't the ghost, the exile, the man everyone feared and hated. You're quiet, Nia said. Kofi blinked. I'm always quiet. No, I mean extra quiet, sad quiet. He didn't know how to respond. Amara spoke instead. She does that, hears things other people don't. It's not hearing, Nia corrected. It's feeling. You feel different than you did before. Different how? Kofi asked. Heavier. The words sat in the air between them. Heavy. Yes, that's exactly what it felt like. They walked in silence for a while. Kofi listening to the sounds of savannah, the rustle of grass, the distant call of birds, the wind moving through the acacia trees. Sounds he'd heard every day for 30 years. But somehow they sounded different now. Less lonely. Can I ask you something? Amara said suddenly. Kofi glanced at her. What? Why do you live out here? All alone. I told you. It's complicated. But you didn't explain. Kofi sighed. Some things are hard to explain. Try. He looked at her, at the way she walked with such confidence. Head up, step sure, even though she couldn't see where she was going. Even though the world was darkness, she still moved forward. I hurt someone, Kofi said quietly, a long time ago, and the tribe, they couldn't forgive me. The chief's son, Amara said. Kofi stopped walking. How do you know that? Everyone knows, Nia said. They talk about it when they think we can't hear. What do they say? Kofi asked. The girls looked at each other. Then Amara answered. They say you were a coward, that you froze, that you let him die. The words cut, even after 30 years. They still cut. They're right, Kofi said. Are they? Amara asked. I was there. I know what happened. But do you know why? Kofi frowned. What do you mean? Why did you freeze? Amara pressed. People don't freeze for no reason. Kofi started walking again, faster this time, like he could outrun the question. But Amara kept pace. "I was scared," he finally said. "That's all. I was scared, and I failed, and a boy died because of it. But you weren't scared last night," Nia said softly. Kofi stopped again, looked down at her. "Last night was different." "How?" "Because—" He trailed off, searching for words. "Because last night I didn't have time to think. I just acted." "Maybe that's a secret," Amara said. "What secret?" "Courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about acting anyway." Kofi stared at her, this 9-year-old girl who couldn't see, but somehow saw everything. "Who taught you that?" he asked. "Mama," Amara said. "She says fear is just another thing we have to learn to live with, like darkness. It's always there, but we don't let it stop us." Kofi felt his throat tighten. "Your mother is wise." "She is," Nia agreed, "but she's sad too. I can hear it in her voice when she talks about the past." "Everyone's sad about something," Kofi muttered. "Even you." "Especially me." They reached the cabin, small, weathered, surrounded by nothing but grass and sky. Kofi's home, his prison, his penance. The girls looked around, or rather, listened around. "It's quiet here," Nia said. "That's the point," Kofi replied. "But doesn't it get lonely?" "I'm used to it." "That's not the same thing." Kofi didn't respond, because she was right. Being used to loneliness didn't make it hurt less. It just made it familiar. He sat down on the stool outside the cabin, his legs finally giving out. The girls sat on the ground beside him, cross-legged, hands in their laps. "We're going to come visit you," Amara said. "You don't have to do that." "We want to." "Your mother won't like it." "Mama will understand," Nia said confidently. "Will she?" Amara nodded. "She's angry, but she's not cruel, and she knows what you did for us." Kofi looked at them, these two girls, who barely knew him, but were ready to stand by him anyway. "Why?" he asked. "Why do you care?" "Because you saved us," Nia said simply. "That doesn't mean—" "And because you're lonely," Amara added. "And no one should be that lonely." Kofi felt tears prick his eyes. He blinked them back. "I don't deserve your kindness," he said quietly. "That's not for you to decide," Amara replied. They stayed for a while, talking, laughing. Nia sang a song her mother taught her. Amara told stories about the village, about the other children, about the elders and their endless debates, about life, normal life, the kind Kofi had forgotten existed. And for those few hours, he wasn't the exile, he wasn't the ghost. He was just a man sitting with two children under the wide African sky. When the sun started to climb toward midday, the girl stood up. "We should go back," Amara said. "Before Mama worries," Nia added. Kofi nodded. He walked them to the edge of the clearing, watched as they turned back toward the village. "We'll come tomorrow," Nia called over her shoulder. "You don't have to." "We will." And then they were gone, disappearing into the tall grass, leaving Kofi standing there, alone, but somehow not as alone as before. He went back to the cabin, sat by the fire, stared at the flames, and for the first time in 30 years, he didn't light the fire facing the tribe. He lit it facing forward, toward the future, whatever that meant. That night, Kofi dreamed, not of hyenas, not of blood, not of Kwame screams. He dreamed of the girls, of their laughter, of their songs, of the way they walked through the world, fearless, even in darkness. And when he woke, he realized something. Maybe redemption wasn't about erasing the past. Maybe it was about building something new, one small act at a time, one saved life, one moment of courage, one step forward, even when the world told you to stay still. And he understood that maybe redemption wasn't about erasing the past. It was about building something new. The next morning, Kofi woke to voices, not the girls. Men, deep, serious, coming from outside the cabin. He sat up quickly, too quickly. Pain shot through his shoulder. He grabbed the walking stick, pushed himself to his feet, opened the door, and froze. Chief Osei stood there, with 3 elders from the tribe, gray-haired, weathered, faces carved by time and wisdom. They were the council, the ones who made decisions, the ones who had banished him. Kofi's heart pounded. This was it. They'd come to finish what they started 30 years ago, to tell him he'd crossed a line by entering the village, to make sure he never came back. "Chief," Kofi said quietly, voice rough from sleep. Osei didn't respond right away, just looked at him, at the bandages, the pallor in his skin, the way he leaned on the stick like his legs might give out. Finally, Osei spoke. "We need to talk." They sat in a circle outside the cabin, Kofi on his stool, the elders and Osei on woven mats they'd brought. No one spoke at first, just the sound of wind through grass, the distant call of the eagle, the crackling of the small fire Kofi had built. One of the elders, Jabari, the oldest, finally broke the silence. "You saved Adissa's daughters." It wasn't a question. "Yes," Kofi said. "From wolves." "Yes." "You were injured." "Yes." Jabari studied him. "Why?" "Why what? Why did you save them? You owe this tribe nothing. We cast you out, took your name, your place, your honor." Kofi looked down at his hands, scarred, trembling, old. "They were children," he said simply. "So was Kwame," another elder said. "Her name was Zuri. Sharp eyes, sharper tongue." Kofi flinched. "I know." "Do you?" Zuri pressed. "Because 30 years ago you let a child die, and now you saved 2 others. What changed?" Kofi was silent, searching for an answer. But the truth was, he didn't know. Or maybe he did, and he just didn't know how to say it. "I had a choice," he finally said, voice barely above a whisper. 30 years ago, I had a choice, and I made the wrong one." "You froze," Osei said flatly. "Yes." "Out of fear." "Yes." "And last night," Kofi looked up, met Osei's eyes. "Last night, I didn't think. I just moved, because if I'd stopped to think, I would have frozen again." Silence. Heavy, suffocating. Then Jabari spoke. "Fear is not a crime, Kofi." Kofi blinked. "What?" "Fear is human. We all carry it. The difference is what we do with it." "I let it control me," Kofi said bitterly. "I let it kill a boy." "Yes," Jabari agreed. "You did. And for that, you paid a price. Not enough of one. That's not for you to decide." Kofi looked at him, confused. Jabari leaned forward. "You've lived in exile for 30 years. Alone, carrying guilt that would have broken most men. That is a price, whether you think it's enough or not. It doesn't bring Kwame back." "No," Osei said quietly. "It doesn't." Everyone looked at him. The father, the one who lost the most. Osei stared at the fire. "I've hated you for 30 years, he said, voice low, raw, every day, every night. I picture your face. And I hated it." Kofi said nothing, just waited. "But last night," Osei continued, "my nieces came home, alive, because of you. I only did what anyone." "No," Osei cut him off. "Not anyone. Most people would have stayed in their cabin. Let the wolves take them, because it wasn't their problem. They were children. So was my son." The words hung in the air. Sharp, cutting, true. Osei took a breath. "I can't forgive you for what happened to Kwame. I don't know if I ever will." Kofi nodded. "I understand. But..." Osei paused. "I can be grateful for what you did. For Amara and Nia." He stood, walked toward Kofi, stopped right in front of him, and extended his hand. Kofi stared at it. The hand of the man who had banished him, the father of the boy he'd let die, the chief of the tribe that had cast him out, extended toward him. "I don't understand," Kofi whispered. "Neither do I," Osei admitted. "But my wife, before she died, she told me something." He paused, swallowed hard. She said that holding on to hate is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. Kofi felt tears burn his eyes. I've been drinking that poison for 30 years, Osei continued, and it hasn't killed you. It's only killed me, piece by piece. His hand stayed extended. I'm tired, Kofi. Tired of hating. Tired of carrying this weight. I don't deserve. Maybe not, but I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for me and for my son, because he wouldn't have wanted me to spend my life like this. Kofi looked at the hand, then at Osei's face, and saw it, not forgiveness, but release, a letting go. Slowly, Kofi reached out, his hand shaking, and took Osei's. The chief's grip was firm, warm. Human, come back to the tribe, Osei said. Kofi's breath caught. What? The council has decided. You've paid your debt. 30 years in exile, and you saved 2 lives. That means something. But the people will adjust, Jabari said. Some will welcome you. Some won't. But that's their choice, not yours. Zuri nodded. You've earned the right to return. If you want it. Kofi looked at them. All of them. The leaders of the tribe that had cast him out, offering him a way back. He trailed off, voice breaking. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Osei said. Come home. Home. The word felt foreign, like something from another life, another man. I'll need time, Kofi said quietly, to think. Take all the time you need, Osei replied. But know this, the offer stands. Today, tomorrow, a year from now, you have a place. If you want it. He released Kofi's hand. Stepped back. The elders stood as well, gathering their mats, preparing to leave. But before they did, Jabari turned back. One more thing. Kofi looked at him. The girls, Amara and Nia, they've been asking about you. Every day. Adissa says they want to learn from you. Learn what? How to hear the savannah. How to move through it. Like you do. Kofi blinked. I'm not a teacher. You don't have to be. You just have to show them the way you see the world, the way you survive in it. Why would they want that? Jabari smiled. Because you see with more than eyes. And so do they. They left, walking back toward the village, leaving Kofi standing there, hands still tingling from Osei's grip, mind spinning. Come home. The words echoed, over and over. Come home. After 30 years. After all the pain, all the guilt, all the loneliness. They were offering him a way back. But the question was, could he take it? Could he walk back into that village and face the stares? The whispers? The people who would never forget what he'd done? He looked at the fire, at the flames dancing, and thought about what Osei had said. Holding on to hate is like drinking poison. Maybe it was the same with guilt. Maybe he'd been drinking his own poison for 30 years, waiting for it to finally kill him. But it hadn't. It had just made him hollow, empty, half alive. That afternoon, the girls came, like they'd promised, laughing, singing, full of life. We brought food, Nia announced, holding up a basket. Mama made extra, Amara added. She said you probably don't eat enough. Kofi took the basket, opened it. Fresh bread, dried meat, fruit, more food than he'd seen in months. Tell her thank you, he said quietly. Tell her yourself. Nia said, you should come to dinner. I don't think. The chief came to see you, right? Amara interrupted. Kofi froze. How did you know that? We heard people talking. They said the council went to your cabin, that they invited you back. Word travels fast. Are you going to come? Nia asked. Kofi looked at them, at their hopeful faces, at the way they believed in him, even when he didn't believe in himself. I don't know, he admitted. Why not? Because, he sighed, because I'm afraid. Of what? Of being rejected again. Of walking in and realizing I don't belong. That I never did. Amara tilted her head. You know what Mama says? What? Belonging isn't about where you are. It's about who you're with. Kofi felt his throat tighten. And you belong with us, Nia added simply. And the chief did the only thing no one expected. He extended his hand. 3 days passed. Kofi didn't go back to the village. Not yet. He told himself he was healing, that his wounds needed time, that he wasn't ready. But the truth was simpler. He was afraid. The girls came every day, morning and evening, bringing food, stories, laughter, teaching him what it felt like to not be alone. On the 4th day, Amara asked a question he'd been avoiding. When are you coming back? Kofi was sharpening an old hunting knife, hands steady for once. I don't know. You've been saying that for days. Because I don't know. That's not true, Nia said softly. You know, you're just scared. Kofi stopped sharpening, looked at her. How do you always know what I'm feeling? Because you breathe different when you're scared. Shallow, quick, like you're trying not to be noticed. Kofi set the knife down. Maybe I am scared. Of what? Amara asked. Of going back and realizing nothing's changed. That people still see me as the man who let Kwame die. That the chief's kindness doesn't mean anything to everyone else. Maybe it doesn't, Amara said. Kofi blinked. What? Maybe some people will never forgive you. Maybe they'll always see you as a coward. The failure. That's not helping. I'm not done, Amara continued. Maybe they'll never change their minds. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't go back. Why not? Because you're not going back for them. You're going back for you. Kofi stared at her. This girl, 9 years old, blind, and wiser than anyone he'd ever met. The chief gave you a gift, Nia added. A chance. But you have to take it. He can't force you. What if I fail again? Then you fail, Amara said simply. But at least you tried. That night, Kofi couldn't sleep. He lay on his mat, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the savannah, the crickets, the distant roar of a lion, the wind, and he thought about what the girls had said. You're not going back for them. You're going back for you. Maybe they were right. Maybe he'd been so focused on what everyone else thought that he'd forgotten what he wanted. And what he wanted was to stop running, to stop hiding, to stop living like a ghost. The next morning, Kofi made a decision. He bathed in the stream near his cabin, put on clean clothes, wrapped his wounds in fresh bandages, and started walking toward the village. His legs shook, not from weakness, from fear, but he kept walking. One step, then another, and another, until he reached the edge of the village. People saw him, stopped what they were doing, watched, some with curiosity, some with suspicion, some with barely concealed anger. But Kofi didn't turn around. He walked to the center, to the meeting ground, where the elders gathered, where decisions were made. Osei was there, talking with Jabari and Zuri. He looked up, saw Kofi, and smiled. Just a small one, but it was there. You came, Osei said. I did. What changed your mind? Kofi glanced around, at the people watching, at the village he'd been exiled from, at the life he'd lost. I realized something, he said quietly. I can't change the past. I can't bring Kwame back. I can't undo what I did. No, Osei agreed. You can't. But I can stop punishing myself. I can stop living like I'm already dead. Osei nodded slowly. That's wisdom. It's survival. Sometimes the same thing. Osei stood, raised his hand. The village went silent. Kofi has returned, Osei announced, voice carrying across the gathering. 30 years ago, I sent him away. Because I was angry. Because I was grieving. Because I needed someone to blame. He paused, looked at Kofi. But grief is not justice, and blame is not healing. Some people shifted uncomfortably. Others nodded. Kofi saved my nieces, Osei continued, risked his life, fought wolves with his bare hands, and asked for nothing in return. That doesn't erase what he did, someone shouted from the crowd. Osei turned toward the voice. No, it doesn't. Nothing can erase that. but it shows who he is now. And that's what matters. He's a coward, another voice said. Osei corrected. He was a coward 30 years ago, but people change. And if we don't let them, then what's the point of any of this? He gestured to the village, to the people, to the life they'd built together. We teach our children to be brave, to be honest, to admit when they're wrong. But how can they learn that if we never forgive? Silence. Deep, uncomfortable. True. I'm not asking you to forget, Osei said. I'm not asking you to pretend nothing happened. I'm just asking you to let him try, to earn his place back, one day at a time. He looked at Kofi. If he wants it. Kofi swallowed hard. Every eye on him, every judgment, every memory, all of it pressing down. But he didn't run. I want it, he said, voice rough but clear. Then it's yours, Osei replied. Not everyone was happy. Some people turned away, refused to look at him, muttered under their breath. But others nodded, acknowledged him, gave him a chance. And that was enough. For now. Adissa approached him later that day. He was sitting near the edge of the village, watching the sunset. She sat beside him, didn't say anything at first, just sat. Finally, she spoke. The girls won't stop talking about you. Kofi smiled slightly. They're persistent. They are, like their father was. Kofi glanced at her. I didn't know you were married. I'm not. Anymore. He died. 2 years ago. Hunting accident. I'm sorry. Adissa nodded. Life is fragile. We forget that until it's too late. They sat in silence. I want to teach them, Kofi said suddenly. Teach them what? How to survive. How to read the savannah. The sounds. The smells. The signs. They can't see, but they can learn. They're smart. Capable. Adissa looked at him. Why? Because... He paused. Because I want to give them something. And that's all I have. It's more than you think. Is it? Yes. Adissa turned to face him fully. They need someone who sees them, not as helpless, not as broken, but as strong, as capable. And you do that. I barely know them, but they know you, and that's what matters. The next morning, Kofi started teaching. In the clearing near his cabin, Amara and Nia arrived at dawn, eager, excited, ready. First lesson, Kofi said. Listening. We already know how to listen, Nia said. No, you know how to hear. Listening is different. He walked them into the tall grass. Close your eyes. They're already closed, Amara said dryly. Kofi almost smiled. Right. Well, just focus. Tell me what you hear. They stood still, silent. Wind, Amara said. Birds, Nia added. What else? They concentrated. Grass moving, Amara said slowly. Something walking. Small. Quick. A mongoose, Kofi confirmed. Good. What else? Water, Nia whispered. Far away, but I can't hear it. The stream. Very good. They spent hours like that, learning, growing, understanding the world in a way most people never did. And Kofi, for the first time in 30 years, felt useful, felt needed, felt like maybe, just maybe, he had something to offer after all. And he understood that maybe redemption wasn't about erasing the past. It was about building something new. Weeks passed. Kofi moved back to the village, not to his old home that had been given to another family long ago, but to a small hut on the outskirts, close enough to be part of the tribe, far enough to still breathe. Every morning, he met the girls at dawn, teaching them how to track animals by sound, how to feel the direction of wind on their skin, how to know when rain was coming by the smell of the earth, how to move through the savannah like they belonged to it. They learned fast, faster than he expected. Amara had a gift for patterns. She could hear an animal once and remember its rhythm forever. Nia had intuition. She felt things before they happened. A storm coming, danger nearby. joy in someone's voice even when they tried to hide it. Together, they were unstoppable. And Kofi, he was proud, a feeling he hadn't felt in 30 years. But not everyone was happy about it. One afternoon, Kofi was walking to the village when a man stepped in front of him, tall, broad-shouldered, scowling. His name was Taiwo. He'd been Kwame's best friend. "You shouldn't be here," Taiwo said. Kofi stopped. "The chief invited me back." The chief is blinded by gratitude. "But I'm not. I'm not looking for trouble." "Good. Then leave." Kofi took a breath. "I know you're angry." "You don't know anything," Taiwo snapped. "Kwame was like a brother to me, and you let him die." "I know." "Do you?" "Because you're walking around like everything's fine, like you didn't destroy lives. Like 30 years is enough to erase what you did." Kofi's hands clenched into fists, but he didn't raise them. "Nothing can erase it," he said quietly. "I know that. I live with it every day." "Good. You should." Taiwo stepped closer. "Stay away from those girls. They don't need a coward teaching them. That's not your decision." "No, but I'll be watching. And if you fail them the way you failed Kwame." He didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. The threat was clear. Taiwo walked away, leaving Kofi standing there, heart pounding, hands shaking. That night, Kofi sat by his fire, staring at the flames, Taiwo's words echoing in his head. If you fail them, he thought about Kwame, about the moment he froze, about the look in the boy's eyes when he realized Kofi wasn't coming. What if it happened again? What if he was teaching the girls and danger came? What if he froze? What if they died because of him? The thought spiraled, faster and faster, until he could barely breathe. The next morning, he told the girls he couldn't teach them anymore. They were at the usual clearing, waiting, smiling. But when they heard his voice, the smiles faded. "What do you mean?" Amara asked. "I mean, I can't do this anymore." "Why not?" "Because..." Kofi struggled for words. "Because I'm not the right person to teach you. You need someone better. Someone who won't fail you." Silence. Heavy. Painful. Then Nia spoke. "You think you're going to fail us." It wasn't a question. "I know I will," Kofi said. "Eventually. It's what I do." "No," Amara said firmly. "It's what you did. Once. 30 years ago. Once is enough." "For who?" Nia asked. "For Taiwo? For the people who won't let it go." "For me." The words came out raw, honest. "I can't trust myself," Kofi continued. "Every time I'm with you, I think, what if something happens? What if danger comes and I freeze again? What if I lose you the way I lost him?" "You won't," Amara said. "You don't know that." "Yes, I do." Kofi looked at her, at the certainty in her blind eyes. "How?" he asked. "Because you already proved it, with the wolves. You didn't freeze. You fought. You bled. You protected us. That was different." "How?" "Because I didn't have time to think. If I'd thought about it. You would have done the same thing," Nia finished. "Because you care about us. And when you care, you don't freeze." Kofi felt tears burn his eyes. "I failed once. I can fail again." "Everyone can fail," Amara said. "But that doesn't mean we stop trying." "What if my trying isn't enough?" "What if it is?" They stood there, in the clearing, the sun climbing higher, birds singing, the savannah alive around them. And Kofi realized something. These girls, they weren't asking him to be perfect. They were just asking him to try, to show up, to teach them what he knew, and to trust that maybe, just maybe, he was stronger than his fear. "Okay," he said quietly. "Okay." Amar repeated, "I'll keep teaching you. But I need you to understand something." "What?" "If I ever freeze again, if I ever fail you, I need you to know it's not because I don't care. It's because I'm human, and humans fail." "We know," Nia said softly. "We fail too, all the time. But we get back up," Amara added, "and so will you." Kofi nodded, unable to speak. Good. Amara said, Now, can we get back to the lesson? We still need to learn how to track by scent. Despite everything, Kofi smiled. The lessons continued. Days turned into weeks. The girls grew more skilled, more confident, more capable. And Kofi, he started to believe, not that he was perfect, but that he was enough. One evening, Adissa came to his hut. The girls told me what happened, she said. With Taiwo. Kofi looked down. I don't blame him for what he said. Maybe not, but I do. He looked up, surprised. He has no right to speak to you like that. Adissa continued. Grief doesn't give him permission to be cruel. He loved Kwame. So did you. Kofi blinked. What? I remember. Before it happened, you cared about that boy. You were excited to teach him, to show him the world. I failed him. You made a mistake. That's different. Is it? Yes. Adissa sat down beside him. A mistake is something you regret, something you'd change if you could. But you've been living like it was intentional, like you chose to let him die. I didn't choose. I just didn't act. Because you were afraid. And fear paralyzes everyone at some point. Not everyone lets a child die because of it. No, but everyone carries something. Some mistake, some regret, some moment they wish they could undo. She looked at him. You're not special, Kofi. You're just human. That night, Kofi had a dream. He was back at the moment. Kwame running, the hyena charging, time slowing. But this time, he didn't freeze. He moved, threw the spear, killed the hyena, saved the boy, and Kwame turned, smiled, said thank you. Kofi woke with tears on his face, not because the dream was real, but because he finally understood. He couldn't change the past, but he could honor it by living differently now, by being the man Kwame would have wanted him to be. The next day, Kofi went to Taiwo's home, knocked on the door. Taiwo opened it, scowled when he saw who it was. What do you want? To talk. We have nothing to talk about. Please. Taiwo hesitated, then stepped outside, closed the door behind him. Make it quick. Kofi took a breath. I know you hate me. I know you think I don't deserve to be here. And maybe you're right. Taiwo said nothing. But I need you to know something, Kofi continued. I love Kwame too. Maybe not the way you did, but I cared about him. And when he died, I didn't just lose him. I lost myself. That's not my problem. No, it's not, but it's the truth. Kofi met his eyes. I can't bring him back. I can't undo what happened, but I can honor his memory by teaching others, by protecting them, by being the man I should have been. Taiwo's jaw tightened. You think that's enough? No, but it's all I have. Silence. Long. Tense. Finally, Taiwo spoke. He would have liked those girls. The blind ones. He always cared about people others overlooked. Kofi felt his throat tighten. He was a good kid. He was the best. Taiwo turned toward the door, then stopped. I still don't forgive you. I know, but I won't stand in your way. If the chief says you can stay, then you can stay. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something. And for now, that was enough. And he understood that some debts you pay not by giving back what was lost, but by giving forward what you have left. The drought came without warning. One day, the sky was clear. The next, it was dust, endless dust, covering everything, choking the air, drying the streams, killing the grass. The animals fled, deeper into the savannah, away from the village, away from survival. Water became scarce. The wells ran low. Children cried from thirst. Elders weakened. And the tribe faced a choice. Stay and hope for rain, or send scouts to find water. Osei called a council meeting. Everyone gathered, faces drawn, eyes hollow with worry. We need water, Osei said. The wells won't last another week. Where do we look? Jabari asked. Everything nearby is dry. There's a place, Kofi said quietly. Everyone turned. What place? Osei asked. Deep savannah. 3 days' walk. There's an underground spring. Hidden. Most people don't know about it. How do you know? I found it. Years ago. During my exile. It saved my life more than once. Zuri leaned forward. If it's so hidden, how do we know it's still there? We don't, but it's our best chance. Osei studied him. It's dangerous territory. Lions, hyenas, wild dogs. And in this drought, they're desperate. I know. You're offering to lead a group there? Kofi hesitated, then nodded. Yes. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, some approving, some skeptical. Taiwo stood up. You want us to trust him? With our lives. He knows the land, Osei said, better than anyone. He also knows how to freeze when it matters. The words cut through the air. Sharp, cool, true. Kofi felt every eye on him, judging, waiting. I won't freeze, he said quietly. How do you know? Taiwo challenged. Because I can't afford to. Not this time. That's what you said 30 years ago. Kofi met his eyes. You're right. I did. And I failed. But I'm not the same man I was then. Prove it. I will. Osei stood. I'll go with him. Silence. Complete. Absolute. Chief, Jabari said carefully, you're needed here. And my people are needed alive, Osei interrupted. If Kofi knows where water is, then I'll help him find it. You don't trust me, Kofi said. Osei looked at him. I trust you, but I also know you carry doubt. And doubt can be as dangerous as fear. He turned to crowd. We leave at dawn. Kofi, myself, and 3 warriors. The rest of you, ration what water we have left. Pray for rain. And wait. That night, Kofi couldn't sleep. He lay in his hut, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the journey, the danger, the responsibility. If he failed, if he led them into danger and froze again, the tribe would lose their chief, their hope, their future, all because of him. He heard footsteps outside. Soft, familiar. Kofi. It was Nia. He sat up. What are you doing here? It's late. Couldn't sleep. Neither could you, I'm guessing. She sat down beside him. You're scared, she said simply. Yes. Of failing. Yes. You won't. You don't know that. Nia turned her blind eyes toward him. I do. Because you're not doing this for yourself. You're doing it for us, for the tribe. And when you care about something bigger than yourself, fear doesn't win. Kofi felt his chest tighten. What if I'm wrong? What if the spring is dry? What if we get lost? What if you succeed? Nia interrupted. What if you lead them there? What if you save everyone? What if this is the moment you finally forgive yourself? Kofi stared at her. This 7-year-old girl, who saw more than most adults ever would. How did you get so wise? He asked. She smiled. Mama says darkness teaches you things light never can. Dawn came. Kofi stood at the edge of the village, a small pack on his back. Bow, arrows, knife, water skin. Osei arrived with 3 warriors. Young, strong, capable, but their eyes showed doubt. They knew the stories. About the coward, the exile, the man who let someone die. Ready? Osei asked. Kofi nodded. They started walking. Into the savannah. Into the unknown. Into the test that would define everything. The first day was brutal. Heat beat down like fists. The ground cracked beneath their feet. Dust filled their lungs with every breath. They saw no animals. Only bones. Carcasses of antelope, zebra, buffalo, all dead from thirst. The warriors grew quiet, nervous. How much farther? One asked. 2 more days, Kofi replied. And you're sure the spring is there? I'm sure it was there. Years ago. That's not the same thing. No, it's not. They walked in silence after that. That night, they made camp. No fire. Too dangerous. Predators were drawn to light, especially in drought. They ate dried meat, rationed water, spoke little. Kofi took first watch, sitting at the edge of the camp, bow across his lap, listening. The savannah at night was never silent. Insects, distant roars, the rustle of grass. But tonight, it felt different, heavier, like something was watching, waiting. Around midnight, Osei joined him. Can't sleep? Kofi asked. Too much on my mind. They sat in silence. Then Osei spoke. I thought about not coming, sending you with the warriors, staying behind where it's safe. Why didn't you? Because if I didn't come, I'd be the coward, not you. Kofi looked at him. I don't understand. 30 years ago, I sent you away because I was angry, because I needed someone to blame. But the truth is, I blame myself too. For what? For letting Kwame go on that hunt. He was 12, too young, but he begged. And I wanted him to be brave, to be strong, to be like me. Osei's voice cracked. So I said yes, and he died. And I spent 30 years hating you, because it was easier than hating myself. Kofi felt tears burn his eyes. You didn't kill him. Neither did you. Not really. The hyena did. But we both carry it. Don't we? Yes. They sat in silence. Two men, two fathers, two hearts broken by the same loss. If we find water, Osei said quietly, when we get back, I want to do something. What? Build a memorial for Kwame and for everyone we've lost. A place to remember, not with anger, but with love. Kofi nodded. I'd like that. The second day was worse. The heat intensified. Water ran lower. One of the warriors collapsed. They had to stop, rest, give him time to recover. But time was something they didn't have. We need to keep moving, one warrior said. He can't walk, another replied. Then we leave him. We're not leaving anyone, Osei said firmly. They waited. An hour. 2. Finally, the warrior stood, weak but upright. They continued. That afternoon, they heard it, growling, low, deep, lions, 3 of them, male, female, juvenile, stalking through the grass, drawn by the scent of water on their skins. Desperate, hungry, the warriors drew weapons. Kofi raised his bow. Don't shoot unless they attack, Osei said quietly. The lions circled, watching, calculating. Then the male roared and charged. Everything slowed. Kofi saw the lion, massive, powerful, fangs bared. He saw Osei, standing his ground, spear ready. He saw the warriors, young, terrified, but holding position. And he saw himself, 30 years ago, frozen, unable to move, unable to act, letting someone die. No, not again, not this time. He released the arrow. It flew true, struck the lion in the shoulder. The beast stumbled, roared in pain, but kept coming. Kofi drew another arrow, breathed, aimed, released. This one hit the chest. The lion collapsed, 10 feet from Osei. The other 2 lions fled. Silence. Heavy, shocked. Osei turned, looked at Kofi. You didn't freeze. Kofi lowered the bow, hands shaking, heart pounding. No, I didn't. And Kofi had the chance he never had, to choose between his own life and the life of the chief's family. Kofi sat by the fire in the village center. Children gathered around, listening to his voice telling stories of the savannah, of the animals, the sounds, the stars, of courage and forgiveness. The tribe embraced him, not as the exile, not as the man who froze, but as the protector, the teacher, the healer of wounds no spear could reach. He looked up at the vast sky, the stars blinking softly, the baobab trees swaying in the warm wind, his heart full, the past still there, but no longer a chain. He had found peace, not by forgetting, but by living, by loving, by being human, flawed, brave, redeemed. And it was then Kofi whispered to the night, Toda Promessa Temem Preco. He smiled, because he knew the greatest promises were the ones we kept with ourselves. And that is how I discovered that love can also be a broken promise we learn to keep in silence.